My first call on a Sunday morning is always going to be from Barbra Streisand. She will have read something in the newspaper. She'll be going through her old magazines, whether it's The Nation or The New Yorker or The Economist or whatever, with some article saying, can you believe what's in this article? Why don't people know this? Barbara is incredibly well informed. She's very smart. People, I think, have this prejudice that if you're a creative person, you don't also have a passport that gives you citizenship rights. Barbara really cares about current events. She's very well informed, and especially about the issues that we give philanthropically on. Barbara makes every single grant decision herself. That's a lot of time and attention. This is not, oh, let's hire somebody like Marge to come in and make these decisions for me. She knows every grant we make. She thinks about it. I need to have initials from her next to the authorization to pay every single grant. And that's whether we're talking about $1,000 to pediatric aids or $50,000 to pediatric aids. She needs to know what it's going for, who the grantee is, and why she should do it. The foundation was started in '86 around the decision by Barbara to perform the One Voice concert. And Barbara at the time was doing it to help Democratic candidates take back the Senate. And I think 5 of the 6 people that the concert profits benefited, and the whole gate was for those candidates. However, she decided to make an HBO special, to release a record of the concert, to do a television, well, the television show would then eventually go to DVD. And all of that ancillary income was going to be coming to Barbara. And she said, I don't want to personally benefit from this. I want this to basically take my values and extend them back into the world. And so all of those ancillary rights, the record, the DVD, the TV sale, all of those rights essentially got paid to the Streisand Foundation. And that was the beginning of the professionally staffed, large decision by Barbara to be a philanthropist. Many people in this community are incredibly generous with their time, but it's very few people that we would call in front of the camera people who write big checks to charitable causes. Some do, but most don't. I think partly that comes from the insecurity of, are they going to work again? Will they ever get another job? You know, they all were poor sometime. But I think she finally got to a stage where she realized it was not going to get all taken away from her, and it was time to make some substantial contributions back. And so she looked around. It was right after Chernobyl. The issue, the issues of the environment were already clear as day on the plate of anybody who was a reader of the New York Times, for example. And so Barbara really felt, okay, I care about peace, I care about the environment, I care about women, I care about health, and I care about education. And I'm going to take the monies that this concert generates in terms of all of these ancillary rights and create the Streisand Foundation to fund those causes. The foundation actually has made program grants to almost 800 organizations since 1986. The average grants can be as small as $5,000 or as large as $1 million, which we just made this past year. And the areas, she's been incredibly consistent. She is not a person who every year decides, well, the new charity cause is this. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying Barbara has really been consistent. In fact, Barbara was absolutely obsessed, personally, politically, philosophically, with what was happening to the planet in the mid-'80s. She created a chair with the foundation's money at the Environmental Defense Fund to support Dr. Michael Oppenheimer's work in the late 80s, like 87, 88, to deal with climate change. So this is an area, people think, oh, she's a singer, she's an actor, she's a director. Barbara knows this area. She knows the science of this area. She reads about this area. And I'd say that the overwhelming amount of our money payout has been to projects that are really focused on a safe, healthy, and future-oriented, sustainable environment. Whether it's cleaning up the oceans, cleaning up the air, making schools kid-friendly in terms of no toxins, getting lead out of things. I mean, it's really been the overarching focus. I'd say next to that, she has an enormous concentration on after-school programs for children. She really feels that young kids who especially come from poor families need a safe place in the afternoon so that they're not at home, they don't get in trouble, especially if there's no parents at home, and where they can be taught their homework, where they can have a place to play sports, where they can possibly do music and art, which has been stripped from the public schools. So funding of young people, especially in the LA area, on children, she really has been very generous to all kinds of groups in the LA area. One of my favorite grants was a teeny little gift that she made. During the Exxon Valdez spill, I remember I was at home having dinner and the phone rings and it's Barbara saying, "Oh my God, there's this little radio station that's the only source of news coming out of the Exxon Valdez spill area. And it's a public broadcasting station. They have no money. They're about to get closed down. They are the source at this point for all journalists. They need money and they need it wired. I just heard this on NPR." She said, "Can we get this check to them right away?" I mean, I said, "Of course we can. Tomorrow morning we can get it to them." She said, "We'll just get them enough money so that they can stay on the air till this fundraising drive is successful." And of course, that station's still on the air. She just feels completely compelled to support the underdog, to make a level playing field, to give people an equal opportunity on that level playing field. And so I think that's what really pulls at her, on her gut, on her soul, on her heart, and on her head. I think of Barbra Streisand as being a humanitarian and a humanist before any other label. Is she a liberal Democrat politically? Yes. I think she has been extremely careful with the foundation to say, this is an expression of my humanism, of my humanistic commitment to each. She believes, I think, we are all connected, that there's an energy amongst all people and in the planet we have stewardship over, and that it isn't a Democratic thing or a Republican thing or a left thing or a right thing. The fact that people should have health care, the fact that people should get an equal education, or equal access to education, the fact that people should have shelter over their heads, the fact that people should be able to get jobs and have opportunities is not a Democratic or a Republican thing. Now, do each political party have different answers to how to accomplish those goals? Yes. But the grants we make are to real grassroots projects around this country that are mostly volunteer-based, that are trying to change the communities they live in and trying to change the country to basically be accountable to the least served in this country. And I don't think any of us at the foundation or Barbara thinks of those in Democratic or Republican mindsets. I think Barbara loves it that the two people that started President Clinton's climate change initiative since he's left office are Rupert Murdoch, uber conservative, and Barbra Streisand, uber liberal. What better than to have a meeting in the middle of a Streisand and a Murdoch to make something better for the planet? As we got ready for the last concert tour, it made her crazy to think that all this many years later, since that very first concert, that the environment's worse than it was then. Now, certain parts of the environment are, the Hudson River's come back and LA air quality is better, but the planet's in worse shape. That there's so many a million Americans living in poverty, that so many people don't have health care. I mean, the things that nuclear energy is still a threat and we don't know where to bury the waste. This many years later, after these issues were the issues that drove her in 1986 to do that concert. And the fact that we still have to work really, really hard to try to find the answers to these problems. Barbra Streisand is a force of nature. She is one of a kind. She has more energy than any human being I know, and a drive to accomplish and do well whatever it is she does, both visually and on every level. It has to be done beautifully and well. She's not happy unless it's done well, and so she just makes sure it is. And I think she's very careful that she doesn't take on things she's not prepared to go the distance on. And the foundation is something she has always made time for. always made time for, no matter what else she's working on.